All right. How you doing, Chris? It's already
Man, I am.
Friday.
I can't believe it's already Friday. I am doing amazing. I hope I can say the same for you.
It's been a good week.
That's good. That's good. Welcome to everyone out there watching or listening. This is the On the Rocks podcast, the podcast where we talk about accounting and accounting adjacent stuff, mostly as it relates to e-commerce, but not only. I am Chris Gino, if you have forgotten, and I'm here with my co-host Jay Kimmelman. Last week, we talked about filing taxes and how much it sucks, issues that can come up with it, and things that really matter as far as extensions, making payments, what forms you need to fill out, how an advisor can help you, all that kind of stuff. This week, we're heading back to the e-commerce space, the largest marketplace in the United States, at least as far as I was thinking of, is Amazon. And so if you're in the e-commerce business, right, you know about Amazon, of course, and you've certainly given some consideration to whether you need to be on the platform or not. But should you? And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So we'll talk about whether Amazon is taking all your money, and other considerations that you should go through when deciding whether or not to take that plunge. But before we get there, what happened this week? And I'm going to start off because in my youth, I was a big space nerd, and there was a solar eclipse, a real one, full totality, and I didn't even have to leave my backyard. It was absolutely amazing. It was an extremely memorable experience. I got to share it with my wife. I tried to share it with some of my teammates, but messed up. Barely.
We got a pretty good experience from it too. I mean, we saw your screen go from blue to gray. And it was good. But watching the excitement in you was well worth it.
Well, that's good. I'm glad for that.
Yes.
I know we were probably that far off from actually getting to see the sun, and it truly is. Pictures don't ever do it justice. If you took a cell phone picture of it, it just doesn't. It's just not the same thing as being there. Even most of the pictures that you see online are all close-ups. But the thing about it is that it's so far away that actually that contrast of space. Is what makes it so special. It makes it feel very vast. And then of course the super interesting thing is that you can see Jupiter and Venus in the middle of the day, which again is super special. I was so thankful that I had the opportunity to get outside and enjoy it. That the clouds lifted because it looked like they might not, and it was just an awesome thing. And I've told the team here at High Rock that I've been living on that high for a week now, or the remainder of this week. So I'm still stoked about it. Still just had it. It's such a positive thing to happen. I was talking to a client about it. Actually, they had traveled a little bit earlier this week, so to go see it themselves, and we're able to. So it's just a special thing, and so hopefully we can all make it around to 2045 or the next time one comes through the United States, and we can all enjoy that together. In the meantime, before 2045, just maybe 20-45 minutes or something like that from now. I did not do the math. That might be wrong, but something like that. Your 1120s and your 1040s are due, and if you haven't done them or started them yet, it's probably extension time. And if you don't know what that means, then you definitely need a tax advisor. So tax deadlines are coming at 4:15 is on Monday. That means that you have. Is it end of business or is it midnight Monday? When does it got to be closed by?
Midnight. I mean,
all right.
If you're going the mail route, you got to get it got to get that postmark before the post office closes. So use that, or as
e-file.
long as it's e-filed on, and if there have been many. A deadline, it's 9-10 o'clock, I'm still sending files off. So
I still haven't sent mine off, so I'll have to make sure. I still gotta go validate my daughter's social security number that I have not done. So I will do that maybe tonight, probably tomorrow, definitely not on Monday. What other tax updates do we have, Jay?
Well, I will let you know that I did file my extension today and Abby's extension. I did include a payment with Abby's extension today because we are filing We are extending the filing, not the paying. The tax payments are due on the 15th. And, this is so evident. I had that same friend that's been emailing me or texting me about TurboTax. And we'll talk a little bit about TurboTax here in a few minutes, too. But she's like, I don't understand this. Why is my tax up so high? What if I just extend it and went from TurboTax to H&R Block? I'm like, you know what? Give me a couple of weeks. Go ahead and extend it. Pay whatever you have due, and then we'll review it together. I said, give me a couple of weeks. Let me get my wits back about me here. And she's like, do I extend it or do I pay it? I said, yes. And it was like 6 more messages. It's like, but if I'm extending it, why am I paying it? It's like, because the tax is due. You're not extending the payment. You got to pay that tax. Are you sure? I'm like, yes, I am positive. So, these are things that we all go through when we are doing tax returns. And the best thing is, they came back to me and said, hey, I met somebody at a chamber meeting last week. They're going to do my taxes next year. I said, yes, awesome, that's great. And I happen to know the gentleman that they're talking to. He is a tax Twitterer, and he's with Luminary. You might know Luminary.
Oh, Adam. Yeah. You know who that is.
I don't know if you know this, but
IRS agent?
Yeah. He lives not very far from me here. We've never actually met. And we've reached out to. I've reached out and said, "Hey, we got to grab coffee at some point." And then he just recently told me he took over my slot in the networking group when I pulled out of it.
Oh.
And, so we got a lot in common. So
there you go. Yeah.
Definitely looking forward to meeting with my local friend there. So yeah.
No, I love that. Actually, I think that'd be a good conversation at some point in time, because Adam is an EA, and that's not the same thing as a CPA, but it is for doing taxes. It might even be better.
Right.
So that's definitely a conversation to have at some point in time.
For sure.
That's been in the Twitter space. That's been a big hot debate. Like, people are always unnecessarily insulting of folks. So EAs, they're just as good, if not better, qualified to do tax work. They'd be better qualified than me. I can promise you that. So don't be worried about an EA. That's a good quality professional for you. So
sure.
That's it.
And speaking of TurboTax earlier, the IRS is reporting a 1% uptick in self-filers. So they're seeing the number of people filing using TurboTax or Block or whatever increasing. But there's one thing that they are fearful of. And what is the number one thing that we must do as a paid preparer? We are required to sign the return.
Oh, no.
Well, guess what you can't do with TurboTax? You cannot sign a return. And they are... the data that's coming in from these returns is so rich, and they can tell the addresses. They're getting the IP addresses from TurboTax, and they're getting multiple returns for different people with the same IP address.
Oh, no.
There's going to be some enforcement at some point here.
Around preparing through some other resource. Yeah, so be on the lookout for that. If you're in the bargain basement, right? Maybe take a step up, because who knows what they're doing there.
For sure.
You definitely want to be aware of that. There's no question. No question. I read a story this week, Jay, and I shared it with you. It sounds like the millennial Gen Z generations, which I'm the very, 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 very eldest of millennials. So I count myself in this group. Are really overwhelmed by taxes. I saw that I think I don't remember the number. I should have written it down, but something like 50. Yeah, 25% of people are dreading doing this, or have like a mental mental issue around filing taxes. And so that really goes to support all of the stuff that we talked about last week in that.
Well, actually, the stat was 1 in 4 are reaching out to mental health counselors to help them through it.
Yeah. So can you imagine that? Can you imagine what that means for the number of people? Because we do have this like mental health stigma here in the United States too, and so that 1 in 4 are willing to go that far to have a conversation around tax filing. That means that surely double that amount, and maybe not that much, but surely a lot of people are struggling through filing their taxes, are concerned about their taxes, are worried about it. And so I think that just speaks again to the opportunities that we have as a profession to kind of like still that stigma away. Is for a lot of people, taxes should not be that complex.
It shouldn't be. But if you think about the millennials, they want it on their phone. They want to be able to text, and they want it now. And I'm with them. I am a millennial at heart. That's exactly how I want to work, and I want to work from anywhere. But when you're doing your taxes, it's a little more difficult than that. And then if you need any support from the IRS, you're going to have to pick up the phone and wait. And
no good
as
IRS
we talked about last week, the support can vary. So, but I did term that with a new hashtag called tax trauma.
Oh, tax trauma! I like it.
So I
like it. I feel like professionals and whatever regular people alike are going through tax trauma right now. So that's a good one. That's a good one. So
and this hit really home because my wife happens to be a mental health counselor.
Oh yeah,
and
true.
She talks about trauma all day long. And when
the intersection of your lives,
for sure. And for me, when I start thinking of trauma, I think of blunt force trauma. Watching the medical shows on TV where they're going into the trauma center. My wife was a trauma nurse, but there's so much more to trauma, and it impacts so many people in so many different ways. So,
there's absolutely no question. So, if you're having trouble with working through your taxes, don't hesitate to reach out to a professional, both as an accounting related professional, but also as a mental health professional. Like there shouldn't be any stigma. You're 1 in 4 already doing it. You should join the club. If it's causing you that much heartburn, then please make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Let's see what else. So I heard Jay, you had an update on the BOI thing in Alabama.
Yeah, so as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, I think it might have been a month now, that there was a federal court in Alabama that ruled the BOI report unconstitutional. The Treasury Department is fighting that. They're appealing that. And at this point, there's been no response on that appeal. But the AICPA has stepped in, and they've requested that any enforcement be suspended at this point until they figure all that out. Because, think about everything that we've been dealing with the last 3 or 4 years with the changes to the 1099s. There's so much confusion. Is it happening? Is it not happening? What's the thresholds? That's what's happening now with the BOI report. So, the portal's still open. Go file. But the AICPA is urging the Treasury to suspend any enforcement of any fines and at this point there are no fines until after December. So you still have the rest of 2024 to file it. Just let's figure it out and then make some decisions from there, right? Yeah, I think that's important. Yeah, I think that's important. Absolutely. So. We'll continue to be on the watch of what the Alabama federal court does there and what happens next, and we'll see what comes of that. But I think we talked about that before. Like, I don't think this reporting is super cumbersome, but you do eventually want to make sure that you get it right if you need to. But again, for now, it sounds like the AICPA is standing behind both professionals and
and practitioners or people in the like a business owners, entrepreneurs of hey, we don't know what the rules are. Can we get a break on you beating us up over this at least?
Exactly.
So here's hoping that guidance is well received.
Yes.
What else has happened this week, Jay?
Well, as we are closing out the regular tax season, we are still sitting on the Tax Relief for American Families and Workers Act that passed the House.
Oh yeah.
And the Senate it's still sitting dormant there, and nobody at this point is, and we talked about this last week, we're not expecting it to be dealt with until after the election. But there are a lot of companies out there, including some of the clients that we're working with, that the rules that went into effect in 2022 are impacting their bottom line, and it's impacting the taxes that they're paying. Now, for those that don't know, there are some rules that went into effect that impact companies that develop internal software, and if they do R&D, research and development. So it used to be you would expense those, and you would do a study and take a credit on your research and development expenses, and on the software development costs, it's a little different, but it's kind of the same thing, where you would expense it, but then when it's done, you capitalize it. But what's happening now, these companies are having phantom income because of the timing differences of this. And they're having cash flow issues because they're having to pay extra tax, because some of that R&D is quite exorbitant. And companies that are doing that, think of your healthcare companies, your IT companies, medical device companies, where they're trying to find new technologies and they're spending a lot of money, and those are not being expensed anymore. They're having to capitalize it. So that's large expenses that are not on the income statement any longer.
Yeah, and it is a really, really big difference. So it can have a huge impact. And so hopeful. Go ahead, Jake.
And the other difference there, it deviates from GAAP. So our companies that are trying to, build up their financial statements so that they either can, get some further funding or possibly go through an offering, their financial statements, we're playing that back and forth. What's the best way to do that? So there's a lot at play there, and hopefully at some point that will get rolled back to the pre-2022 levels, and we shall see.
Well, we will see. Hopefully it will. Hopefully it will happen one day. But again, I'm not gonna. If we get an update prior to the extended deadline, that would be a huge shock to me. But we'll see. We'll see, and we'll follow it. Let's see what else is going on this week. Just a general update. The NHL season and the NBA season. We're down to just like a couple games of the regular season. I got my Stars shirt on today. Trying to be the 1 seed in the Western Conference, and then the Mavericks are absolutely on fire right now. So hopefully my Dallas area teams are going to be in good shape come playoff time. We'll see. But that'll be something that I'm watching over the next few weeks, and because it'll be that time. What else, Jay? What else has happened this week?
Well, we had the culmination of the NCAA tournaments.
Oh, that did happen, didn't it?
Yeah, South Carolina took the women's title, and they went undefeated, which is amazing. And,
it is amazing.
And UConn has repeated. They're now going for the three-peat, and they got their eyes set on it. But to me, the biggest story this week, and this is a sports story, and being a good Southern boy from upstate New York, I love Bubba's, Bubba Wallace and Bubba Watson. And
there you go.
Bubba Watson's daughter, man, rocking the golf clubs there the other day. Sinking 3 long putts. And somebody that was on the golf course Saturday, I was completely embarrassed by that, because I could not do that to save my life at this point.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah.
I'm over here looking because I'm trying to pull up my bracket because actually on ESPN I ended up in the 99.2 percentile with my ladies bracket because I had picked South Carolina to win the title and did pretty well. I got the whole Final Four, got the championship game correct, so I did really well in that.
Cool.
In that pool, so that's why I'm over here trying to find it. But ESPN was like, "Hey, that's old news, man."
Right. Yeah.
we don't keep that up. We don't keep that up that long. So
yeah.
So another time, but yeah, 99 percentile. I had a friend actually who had picked Iowa to win the title, and prior to the title game, he was 32nd, I think, in the overall rankings.
Wow.
Which is amazing, right?
Yeah.
And then of course, because of the way that the ESPN scoring works and those things. I ended up beating him, but what can you do?
Right.
Anyway, that's fun. You said it. So yeah, golf is going on. And speaking of golf, right? It's Masters weekend, so the biggest thing in golf is happening right now too. We got all kinds of fun sport adventures that are going on.
Oh, for sure.
Do you follow professional golf much?
No, I don't.
Yeah, me neither. But
my buddies, I mean. They're working from home yesterday and today, and they kind of got it set up like this, or they're outside with the golf up on the screen, and working at their desk there. But no.
Yeah, it would be a thing that if I ever got invited, I would definitely go.
Oh, you gotta go.
Imagine the reason. Yeah, I can't imagine the reason why I would ever get invited, but if I did,
right.
I would do it.
For sure.
There's no question. Yeah. No question. All right, well, wonderful. With no extra news, Jay, what are you drinking?
I have gone back to my Bullet and Coke. Cheers.
Yes, cheers. Today, I moved on from Reasonably Corrupt. I tried this one last week. This is my Little Shadow. This is actually one of my favorite ones that I've gotten out of Beer Drop so far. I really like that. It's a German-inspired dark lager, kind of right in my wheelhouse of very malty, not too hoppy beers. Big fan of My Little Shadow. So, all right then. So when I want to buy something, the first place that I go is Amazon. Mm-hmm. So Jay, is Amazon taking all my money? Is like a very real question that I have. But it's not just a real question for me, right? Like they're taking all my money as like it's not really them. Like it's kind of going to other people. But it is really a question for e-commerce businesses, right? So to get started,
definitely.
Is Amazon taking all of our money?
But going back to your original question, yes, they are taking all of our money. They've made it so frictionless.
Right.
I mean, you just put it in the cart, you hit buy now, and it's done. And it's so easy. As a consumer, it's awesome.
Yep.
I mean,
fantastic.
Going there,
fantastic.
You're probably getting the best price you're going to get. In some cases, you got some coupon deals in there. You click the button, you get an extra discount on the back end. It's awesome.
And then in 2 days, it's at your door, right? Like that's a huge thing.
Usually in 2 days, yeah. Now, for me, I'll go in there and it's like, I'm prompted because it says I can still get it this afternoon or tomorrow. And you place the order and in the order it says it's going to arrive tomorrow. And then you place the order. Oh, wait, it's coming Sunday now. Wait, what happened here?
Ooh.
But you know what? It's not that bad. It impacts me when it's a project that I'm working on. I'm waiting on some drives for my Synology box or something. But, overall, if I don't have to go to the Lowe's or go to the other store, I'm all for it, and it's great.
Yeah.
But, we have a different picture of this though, because
right. As the consumer, you have a different viewpoint, right?
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about what Amazon does, not for us as the consumer, because it's true. Like they get us stuff really fast. They give us like a million different options. Some of them are maybe good, probably good. Some of them might be like maybe questionable quality, like kind of all depends. But what does Amazon do for e-commerce providers? Like what do they do? I know of a couple things, so I'm going to run them off and we can talk about them a little bit. The first one, the biggest one that I can think of, right, is FBA. And FBA is Freight by Amazon, right? So they do all the shipping for you. which means that they are fulfilling, or fulfillment by Amazon, FBA. Sorry, I didn't say that right the first time. So fulfillment by Amazon. So they're fulfilling your orders, which means that you don't have to go pick them, you don't have to go find the stuff in your warehouse. Amazon's doing all of that for you, and then they're sending it out on your behalf, right? Mm-hmm. That's a very, very, very valuable service, because especially if you're doing large volumes, like, that can mean into everything, because you now don't have to do that. And especially if you're a small business, like, that means you don't have to do it as the business owner. You may have been the person who was fulfilling orders previously, but once you grow, letting Amazon do that fulfillment for you can be huge. Another thing that Amazon does for you is they store your inventory. And so to fulfill the inventory, right, they have to have it as well, which means that they'll hold your inventory for you. And then they obviously, like we just talked about, right, your people who are interested in buying things, one of the first places that they're going to go to is Amazon, which means that by listing your product on Amazon, you're connecting yourself to a first choice marketplace. Oh my gosh. So, like, they give you this opportunity to be where people are going to go look for your product. It's like the way Walmart probably was about 20 years ago, where, like, if you were anybody, you were in Walmart, like, people knew who you were. If they were shopping at the Walmart and you were going to pick up stuff there. Now everybody doesn't need to go there. Everybody can just do it from home. And when they do, most of the time, the first place that they look, or certainly a first few places that they consider, is Amazon. What other things does Amazon do for you as an e-commerce retailer?
Well, I mean, with what you said there, I mean, they're giving you a turnkey operation. Basically, you source your products and you have them sent to the Amazon distribution center, and they're taking care of the rest of it.
Yeah.
You know, and make it really easy until it's not.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's easy to get the products in and get them sold. You know,
right.
Pulling some of the data out, that's a little more difficult. And, you know, you're at their beck and call for, you know, customer service things. But you know what?
Yeah.
I mean, for especially as you're starting up and, you know, you don't have the resources to build a fulfillment center, and in some cases, you know, going to a third-party logistics warehouse is going to cost equally or more than going through Amazon. You know, the thing there is they have the marketplace, they have the eyes on their site.
Right, exactly.
And, you know, the other thing that they actually have is they have an advertising system that gets more eyes on your products.
Right. Yeah, I didn't think about that actually as I was listing out these things that they do for you. But that is one of them, right? PPC. What's PPC stand for? I just know it's PPC. I'm sure it's something.
Pay-per-click.
That doesn't seem right, Jay. Pay-per-click. I thought you said pay-per-click.
Yeah,
I was like, pay-per-click? What are you talking about, Jay?
Yeah.
Pay-per-click. Yes, perfect. That sounds very much more
reasonable. It's a single, it's not a double. I'm still coherent here. I'm good.
Pay per click.
Yes.
What that means, right, is that when you search, I don't know, like metal Yeti cup or something, like the first couple things that come up are your product, right? You can then, if people are clicking through, pay per click, you're getting that value. And that helps you to the more that you spend on that, typically the better the higher you go into the pool when people are searching different keywords, and so you can identify both the keywords for your actual product, but also maybe some keywords of your nearest competitor when people are looking for not Yeti, or maybe you're not Yeti, but you're selling stainless steel cups,
right?
And you want, when people search Yeti, you want your thing to come up too. Like you can use the platform for that kind of thing, right?
It's very similar to Facebook ads on the Facebook platform and Google ads on the Google platform. I mean,
it's exactly
Amazon
the same
specifically on their platform for the items that you are trying to sell. Right.
And so that can be a huge resource for you, because it gives you the opportunity to be now, not only are you in the biggest marketplace, but you're also the first thing people see when they search for your type of product. which is a huge value to you so that you can sell more products. Now, the downside of this turnkey service is that unfortunately it is not free. And so what do you pay? What do you pay? So you pay a variety of different things. Basically, for each service that we've talked about, like, you're paying for that service, right? There's a basic transaction fee. It's the processing fee. And if I remember right, that processing fee for Amazon is 15% of your sales price. That's not nothing. That's a very substantial fee. But there's a lot of trade-offs for it, right? In addition to that, you're also paying for the storage space, right? Like in the January to September timeframe, you're paying a reduced rate in comparison to the end of the year when everybody wants to be in the Amazon warehouse because everybody's buying toys, electronics, everything that you could possibly buy in around Black Friday, around Christmas time, around all of that, right?
Yeah, they expect you to stock up during the holidays, so that's when they increase their fees for storage.
That's right. It's who would have ever thought that a business would do something like that?
Exactly. Now the other thing,
what you'll find is
the other thing to keep in mind, though, when they're looking at the storage fees, if you don't have 30 days of supply on hand, and they're looking at forecasts of what you've sold, looking at history and forecasting what you've sold, they're going to hit you with additional surcharges too, because they want to make sure you have in stock what you need to sell. And they're going to make sure that you do by charging you more if you don't.
Yeah, and so as a turnkey operation, right? They're kind of helping to make sure that you don't go out of stock, which is an important thing, because if someone is looking for your type of your cup or your whatever, if they find you but then you don't have it, like, that's a bad experience for the customer, and that bad experience doesn't always go to you. That bad experience kind of gets pushed onto Amazon as well, of like, well, come on, you don't even have my thing. So that can be there. There is a reason that they charge you those different charges. In addition to that, like, you are paying for the FBA service separately, like, and the shipping that goes along with it, right? So you're paying for those shipping rates. Now, everything that I've read is that those rates are pretty competitive. So I mean, like, it's not like you're getting screwed by Amazon on this, but they're competitive to 2-day shipping rates, which means that they're not cheap either. And so you're paying for that charge. And then, of course, like we talked about with the ad spend, PPC does. I mean, it's pay per click. So you pay per click. So you are paying for. We are paying for your brand to come up in those searches. All in all, Jay, I think you found an article that summarized this as like a total of your 50% of your transaction. Is that right?
It's coming up to 50 to 60% of your sales now. And so that made me really think about it, because, looking at some financials recently, and it's like looking at gross margins, and they're looking at like their cost is like 40% for the unit, per unit. Yeah. It's like, well, if you're only making 60% on your product, you're barely covering the other costs, yet alone all of your operating costs.
Right.
So the other thing that you have to be cognizant of is that 50 to 60% is without your product. So when you are looking at selling your products, you want to be looking and getting the best price you can. And a lot of times that involves long lead times, which we talked about recently.
Yep.
Larger quantities, which we've talked about, and all of that comes down to our favorite thing, cash flow. So
absolutely,
you want to be able to buy your product and maybe have that cost of the product, have that COGS percentage be somewhere around 10 to 15% if you can. So that involves those are Alibaba type rates. Looking at that. So. And you want to have the best product you can. So you're going to have to use that when you're pricing your products, and
that's exactly what I was going to say. Is that means that you need to be really, really thoughtful about your pricing strategy, because one of the things that you said early in this conversation, Jay, was that, like, Amazon often has the best price, And if that's true, right, that means that maybe you as the company are like leaving some money on the table. Because if I as a consumer, if I'm gonna go to Amazon and I'll probably buy from Amazon versus like looking at your website, your Shopify platform, something like that. And especially if the prices are the same, if I can get 2-day free shipping as the consumer, like why would I worry about like paying your shipping or getting it from you in 5 days or something? Like I'll just choose the option that's the same cost and do it immediately. And so that can be a really important decision to make, because you do need your profit margins, your gross margins. You're gonna need them to be a lot in order to make it worth your time to use the Amazon platform. So what other things? One other thing that I thought about as we were talking about this too, and you mentioned it was turnkey, right? And what that means is that like sales tax, like you don't have to deal with sales tax. Amazon does all that for you.
Yeah, Amazon, you called it is a marketplace, and
they collect it for you. They remit it on your behalf. Like you don't even have to think about it, which can be a huge savings, because you're not having to even consider that. You're not having to worry about like where you are level wise. You don't have to pay for a platform to help you do the calculations and integrate it into all your different things. So there are lots of pros. And so
there is a marketplace facilitator sales tax fee, but that's another story. That's all built into that 50-60% there already. So,
and so I think ultimately the question, right, is it worth it? And we've talked about a lot of the pros, right? You get a turnkey service, right? You get fulfillment, you get storage, you get this huge marketplace where consumers are going to directly. You get the no hassle of worrying about sales tax. You get the whole thing, right? The whole package. It is extremely valuable, and that's why it costs 50 to 60% of your product. What other pros are out there, Jay?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, it allows you to go out and source your products and do the marketing for your products, which is what most founders and e-com store owners want to do. So it helps you do that, and it takes the worry out of worrying about getting those products shipped, because as somebody that was running a manufacturing company where we were shipping orders, making sure those orders got out timely was important and stressful. So it puts you at ease, takes away some of that stress. And
absolutely.
To me, you're getting your product in front of a market that you wouldn't have. It takes a lot longer to build up that market if you're doing it on your Shopify site or doing it on whatever e-commerce platform you're on. Except when you're on a marketplace, it makes it so much easier to be seen and be found. And you don't have to spend as much to get that initial exposure, because people are on that marketplace. You got to get them to find your URL and your brand to get them to buy from your shop, and that is, I think, a little more expensive. In the long run, you're going to build the client experience and create raving fans, and that's what you want. You want to have fans that love you and love your products. And at some point, you may shift from Amazon back to your own website, because have that cult following, but you probably will still keep that Amazon shop open. And think about the national brands we see that have an Amazon shop. They have brand shops right on Amazon, and they do that because they know they have the audience there.
That's right. So, I did this just the other day. I bought something from Reebok. Reebok is a brand that I knew as a kid. They were around before Amazon existed, and certainly in the way that Amazon exists today. And they were right there. They have their own store. I could go click through, look at the entire face of the Reebok store, and what is it that you want to buy today from Reebok? Let's go sort through this, right? So there's just loads of value from being on that Amazon marketplace. I do think that it makes for a very, very interesting question of how should you drive your traffic, or what considerations should you be making if you've grown a lot, right? So you've already developed that following, right? At what point do you or can you like even turn that off a little? And so I think that can be really challenging.
It can,
but it also gives you options, which is good too.
Most definitely.
And find so trying to find that right balance, right, between your e-commerce platform through your own website, through whatever Shopify or whatever you're using, right, and balancing that with Amazon. And Amazon's trying to take even more of that share, to be honest, because now they've introduced the Buy with Prime button, which you can integrate into your own website to be able to just fulfill it through Amazon, so you don't have to worry about it.
You can do that through the shop site too, which is a Shopify platform too. So it's there, and they're going to start working together and make it work. So everybody's going to get a little piece of that pie. But you asked where are the pros? So think about brands that have taken off here in the U.S. or North America. So there are, I think, total of 9 marketplaces now. It might be more than that. I don't know exactly the number. I know that when we're connecting them, I think it's 9. But, you can now go to the UK and other European countries and test your products there. You can go to Saudi Arabia, UAE, Singapore, Australia. I mean, all those markets are wide open right now. And the key there is, you have to get exposure. So what do? You buy your ads. And, one thing you want to do is be watching and pay attention to what your revenues are and what you're spending. Because at some point, your revenues might not pick up and it might be time to cut. Or you find in this country, we're not making a hit, but over across Europe at this other country, maybe in Italy, your product's a hit, and you can back off some of your ads and you still maintain your sales. And you want to do testing like that ongoing when you're doing it, just to see what the impacts are. But if you're looking at a negative margin because your ads, it might be time to pull it, or try a different type of ad. But odds are that product might not be a hit in that country. So there's a lot of things to be looking at.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we didn't really even talk about, because a lot of the local fulfillment, like if you're fulfilling out of the United States, most of that is intended to be like locally like United States fulfillment, right? And it is much easier because you don't have to do anything special necessarily, right? To be able to get yourself in front of the international market. And so if you have a product that's likely to be popular in Australia or in Asia or in Europe, like you do have this conduit to be able to get in front of that market without like the same types of things that we were talking about before, without having to build a fulfillment center or find a fulfillment partner or worry about all of those things, because Amazon can help you with that, right? They can give you that turnkey service from the get-go. What are some of the drawbacks of working with Amazon?
Damages. Products getting damaged, credited, inventory getting lost, pulling your numbers out and making the numbers make sense. Things like that. Some of it is really murky, and they don't make it easy. But it's just probably on purpose. That's why we use certain tools that help us figure all that out.
Right. Well, and it's interesting too, because if you think about that, right, getting your customer data is extremely valuable to you as the business, because then you can do targeted advertising to them.
Right.
You can do very specific things where you can steer that customer from the Amazon platform to your other alternative, cheaper platform. But Amazon doesn't have an incentive to do that for you, right? Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily want you to be able to do that, because they would love for people to return to Amazon and buy the thing that they've already bought. They set up the subscription service for exactly that reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think of Prime Pantry. I think of just Amazon subscriptions in general. Like they want you to come back to Amazon, of course, because that's their business. And so getting information, I'm not surprised that it's hard. And I'd make it that way too if it were up to me, probably.
For sure.
And the other thing that I think about when I think about that too is like for lots of companies, they pay you every 2 weeks too. Like this is a cash flow con. Like you can
turn on
you may have to
more
wait
frequent payments.
You
can turn on more frequent payments.
Does it cost more, Jay?
You know what? I don't know if it does or not.
Yeah. I don't know either. I know that they're like standard setup, or at least the one that I've seen the most frequently is the like every other week payment setup. And I don't know if it's like an expedited payment fee that goes along with
I gotta figure that out. I've never looked at that to see if that was the case. But the other thing, and you're talking pros and cons. What's the one thing that all e-commerce businesses need?
Customers. No. Jay, what is it? Cash? Yeah.
Cash.
Need some cash.
So Amazon lending as well. So they will give you the working capital. As long as you're on their platform, and with every settlement, they will take a piece back. Yeah. And I've seen clients, they'll get a couple $100,000 at a time, and they'll renew that couple 6-7 times a year. So it definitely helps, and they're there to help.
Yeah, I mean, again, we just talked about that, right? Amazon wants you to use their marketplace. They want you to be there. Yeah. Because that's they make plenty of money through that platform.
Most definitely.
And so having you there is very valuable to them as well. And so that's the reason I think why Amazon is such a very popular partner, because of exactly that, right? They facilitate a marketplace for you. You provide them with payment related to this marketplace, and everybody ends up happy. And so that is definitely a very big pro. Are there other cons, Jay, to working with Amazon?
I mean, the biggest con to me is the cost.
Yeah, I think it's...
There are some idiosyncrasies. If you're a seller and they might pull your shop for one reason or another. There are sellers that will launch complaints against you because you're selling the same product they are, even though you have a patented product. Things like that do happen. And, it's like anything else. You might have to battle back with them, but most of the time it's a now problem. You got to deal with it right now. And once you're past it, it's done, but that's one of those things. The other thing that you have to deal with is, if you have a great product, you might end up seeing an Amazon brand product of your product. So that does happen.
That can definitely happen. Yeah. Absolutely. If your product is extremely popular, or lots and lots of volume, Amazon makes a lot of things. They have a variety of different brands that they utilize, and a variety of different space, and they also have a lot of purchasing power, I'm sure, which gives them the opportunity to be able to potentially make those margins a little bit better for themselves. And so you do run that risk. I don't know. I haven't seen any stories about that specifically, but I'm sure that it's. I mean,
I've
heard
some doozies. I can't remember the specifics at the moment, but over the last 5 to 7 years, I can recall hearing a couple of doozy stories there. But you are right. I mean, they do have the funds to do what they need to do, and they also probably host half the internet. Not half, maybe a quarter.
A lot of it, yeah.
On AWS.
Right, yeah. AWS is a gigantic platform that supports. It probably is supporting us right now, and so Amazon makes money in a lot of ways.
Yes.
So to your point, right? I think one of the cons too is the price, and that's why you have to be really cognizant of that as a business owner when you make the jump into the Amazon marketplace, or whether you consider making that jump, right? Because you do want your end result is that you want to sell more products to generate more profit. You don't want to sell more products to generate Amazon more profit. And so it means that you have to be really thoughtful about the rollout of that, about your pricing, about how much you're going to keep on hand, which products you're going to list, because you don't have to list all of your product portfolio on Amazon. You can list some popular products and allow some of your others to be on your other platforms, and give yourself that flexibility where you can sell maybe your highest margin items through the Amazon platform, because that's you have the cushion to be able to pay for it, and then you can sell the accompanying item or whatnot on your own platform. So that is definitely a thing that you have to think about. And then Jay, you mentioned too, like you need your products to have pretty good margin to be able to afford to do this properly, right? So you want to be really thoughtful about how much your products cost, how much, and like holistically how much they cost. So that's the landed cost. That is also the operating expenses, because we talked about that at the beginning too, right? Is you don't need just a 60% margin, because then you have nothing left to pay for operating expenses. You need to consider also what coordinating with Amazon costs, what coordinating with your supplier and your vendor costs. You have to be thoughtful of all of those costs that you have to run your business, and so it can be a excellent platform for you to utilize, but it's definitely something that you want to give a lot of thought to before you jump in. What else do you think about Amazon, Jay? What other considerations should you be making before you start connecting to them?
I think that you talk to your fellow store owners, find out what their experiences are, what they're seeing in their stores, what they're seeing from Amazon, things along those lines. And going back to the products, source those products. Know what your costs are, and it's not what that product cost is, it's that landed cost. That is the key. And are you bringing that product to you and then sending it to Amazon, or you're sending it directly from Amazon, or just directly to Amazon? Because you might have an additional step in that shipping process, which might increase your cost. So you want to be able to be cognizant of that as well, to have it shipped directly to them. So, you're not storing it as well, and their fees might be a little higher, but you coordinate that cost for the shipping with the storage, with the additional shipping cost. So all that, you got to weigh all that out and go through all those different scenarios.
Yeah, and so I think that the key takeaway here, right, is that if you have interest in working with Amazon, it is absolutely critical that you give loads and loads and loads of thought to how you're going to do that, where all of the different parts and pieces are coming from, and how you want your business to run. Because if you don't, the thing that you'll find is that you'll either run out of cash flow very quickly, you will just not generate any profit, or you'll find yourself in some other kind of challenge that probably goes along those same lines. So who should you reach out to, right? If you're running into a problem like this, or if you're ready to do something like that,
reach out to your friendly e-commerce CFO like Chris or Jay, and we could help you with that. Yeah, for sure.
Sure could, huh? Yeah. So if you're going through that, if you're looking to make that change and make that update to your business, like find a good advisor, and let them talk to you about that process, and let them talk to you about all of the things that we've talked about today, so that you can be ready and prepared, and know that it's going to be a successful option for you in your business. So I think that's that's a pretty good pitch to end on. Jay, what else do we want to talk about on Amazon? That's it.
That's it, man. I'm gonna get off this call and go order something.
Let's go Amazon. Steel cups or something. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what I need from Amazon. I was gonna buy. Oh yeah. So I'm going on a trip in a few weeks, like 6 weeks or something like this, to Alaska, and so I'm gonna. I didn't buy it from Amazon actually, but I bought it from REI. A thermal underlayer. So I probably will go look at Amazon for some warm weather clothes. Like here in Texas, it doesn't get all that cold. Alaska in the springtime or the summertime is supposed to be relatively like comfortable, 40 to 60, but that's still chilly to me, which means that I got to like be appropriately geared. So that's what I'll be looking for on Amazon. So if you're watching this and you sell thermal gear, consider Amazon, because people definitely go looking there.
Most definitely.
Maybe pizza support products, Jay. I feel like.
Oh yes, I mean most definitely. Yeah. I got my I got my pizza steel from Amazon. I got my 2 peels.
Yeah.
I just got a new wooden peel because the metal ones conduct heat. So
all right, hold on. We're gonna have to quickly pause here. A peel is a peel the like cool thing you put under the pizza.
Yes.
You peel it off the stove or whatever.
Okay. It's called a peel. And no matter how much I treated it, and it was an aluminum one to start with, my pizza would stick to it, and you got to shake it to get it in the oven.
Oh yeah, sure.
And get it without falling over or sticking, knocking all the cheese off.
Yeah.
So I went and invested in a wooden peel, and it's been going so much better.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, what else do you have going on this upcoming week? Any weekend plans, Jay?
Weekend plans, actually, you might have noticed a few moments ago I was distracted. My wife popped at the door as our daughter is heading off tonight to go to her last regional dance competition. And she's staying over there at the hotel with a friend, and we will join her tomorrow. We're staying at home this trip. This is the first time we're doing this. So, I mean, she's going off to college in the fall, so,
Yeah, you get a little practice run. Yeah. A little practice run.
So, so, we got some masters, and in this competition, every year is tax weekend. And luckily this year, I believe we filed all of our extensions today, I was told.
There you go.
So I think we're good there. Well, like I said earlier, my extensions have been filed, so I'm happy there.
Right.
So, the only other thing to talk about is, the NASCAR making a trip to Fort Worth this weekend.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. You mentioned that to me earlier this week, and I feel like I should have known. I've been to Texas Motor Speedway several times, and always for NASCAR races. I don't think I've ever seen an IndyCar race there. I may have gone to one at one point in time.
Yeah.
But I still remember, not the first time, but the second time that I went, it was rainy and overcast, and I was like, maybe they'll run. And so we went out there, and they didn't.
Yeah.
And this was in my first year as an auditor, so I was a first-year auditor. And I was like, well, I already got the tickets to this. They're going to run it on Monday. I'm still going to go. Yeah. I'm still going to go. So I talked to some folks at work, and I went, and it was an awesome experience because we, when it rains out, not as many people go, which means that you can kind of move around a little bit. But one of the wildest things about a NASCAR race, especially when you're sitting there, like they're at Texas Motor Speedway, they're like aluminum bleachers, right? So you're like sitting on them, and as the cars come by, I mean, they vibrate, and it's like and it's just an amazing experience. I think they ran both races in the same day. Kyle Busch lapped the whole field. I think he won by like a lap and a half or something.
Yeah, it's not happening these days, but
no, but back then it was, especially in the Xfinity, right? This was the whatever. It may have still been Busch at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, he smoked that race, and then and then did pretty good in the other one as well. But and then the next year, or maybe a couple years later, I went again, and this was one of the first times. This was the only time I think that my wife has gone, and we got the little headset with the scanner, and that was the time at Texas where Dale Jr. and Jimmy Johnson wrecked on the first lap. Or maybe the second lap or something. And so it was one of the eye-opening experiences, because anytime when you're watching NASCAR at home, you're just getting the commentary from the Fox team or whatever, right? Or whoever is showing NASCAR these days, right? You're getting their commentary. But when you're there at the racetrack, you can listen to specific pit crews, and the amount of obscenities that were coming out of, I can't, who was Jimmy Johnson's crew? Is it Chad Knaus? Is that possible? Yeah. The amount of obscenities that he was spewing that morning, right, were, it was a lot. It was quite the experience. And you only ever see Chad Knaus as this really polished, he's a very good interview for or at the time, right? He was a very good interview for TV, but really well spoken,
for sure.
looked like extremely professional.
Yeah.
But on that radio, he was hot. And it was so funny to listen to, because, and so that's something that if you ever go to a NASCAR race, listen to the radio. There's some cool. You can really enjoy the track in a different way by doing that. Yeah, it's like the solar eclipse of NASCAR.
No, I do have a scanner that I take with me, but I also have the NASCAR app, and you can listen to the scanner channels on there.
Oh,
and, Kyle Busch he's having a horrible season, but he's not the Kyle Busch of past at this point. He's not controversial. He's not, he's more regulated, except on the radio. So it's well worth listening to.
I bet Kyle Busch is a fun listen. That is exactly what I'd expect. And so I don't have tickets to Texas Motor Speedway this weekend. My brother actually lives in Roanoke, so he can see the speedway from his backyard. So I think when they race, I'll have to call him this weekend, because I think when they race, he can maybe even hear it. He's close enough that you can hear him.
Very cool.
But if you haven't, get to a NASCAR race, and if you haven't before 2045, get to a solar eclipse. Do it. Go see the totality. It's worth it. What else is going on this week? Like I mentioned earlier, the NHL season and NBA season, I think in this weekend or this upcoming week. So the playoffs are going to get started next week. Jay, are we going to swap solos, or are we going to just skip a couple weeks? I know you're traveling next week, yeah?
Next Saturday we are going up to Flagler College, where my daughter will be attending. And we have Admitted Students Day, so we might switch days or something. We'll figure this out.
Yeah, maybe we'll move it to Thursday for the next couple weeks, because the following week my family is going down to Galveston to go hang out with some of my wife's family to celebrate a birthday of a cousin. So that should be fun. Galveston's a fun little island city. You may not find us on Friday for the next couple weeks, but I'm sure we'll get it figured out.
Most definitely.
What else, Jay? Any closing words today?
Oh gosh, just pay your taxes.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Avoid those penalties.
And especially if you're me, don't pay your taxes. Get a refund. That's even better.
Yeah, get a refund even better.
Yeah, get a refund is even better. But the only way you can do that is by filing. So make sure you do it. So again, that tax deadline Monday. It's a tax deadline for the filing of your taxes, not for the paying of your taxes. So if you have not already paid them, pay them. The penalties are no joke. The IRS loves you to not pay, I'm sure, because I'm sure they collect loads and loads and loads of penalties and interest on those penalties.
The penalties hurt. The interest isn't bad, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And one last parting comment. Now that my cup is empty here, so if you can't afford to pay 100% of your taxes, go ahead and pay what you can, and give it a week or two. I mean, get it e-filed, give it a week or two, and then call. They will actually, you can set up a payment arrangement with them, but that would be a long-term official payment plan, which you could do over, I believe it's 6 years if you wanted to.
Oh wow!
But if you have a short-term need, let's say you can pay it in 4 months, call them and make an arrangement with them, and you don't have to pay the fee to establish it. They might have some penalties and some interest, but they will work with you, and after it's paid off, you can then call them and ask for some of that penalty to be abated. So, the trick is getting through and being able to speak to somebody. But, a lot of times they are very helpful. So
yeah, so do all you can. Is the last the parting message here, right? Like
for sure,
make sure you file or extend, either way, right? You have to do that. Make sure you pay as much as you can. I think that's important as well. And then if you can't, in a couple of weeks' time, make sure that you follow up properly, so that you can have a good conversation. Because if you do get into like a really, really sideways position with the IRS, that is not a place you want to be.
For sure.
And you definitely want to avoid that and do all that you can to make sure that they're appeased, because they do have a lot of power, and we can talk about that some other time too.
They do, yes.
What happens if you don't pay the IRS? But do the best that you can. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Thank you so much for watching and listening to us talk about Amazon. Buy your good stuff there. If you can, maybe buy it from the direct website instead. But enjoy your weekend. Have a wonderful next week. We'll talk next week about something. But in the meantime, make sure on Monday you get those taxes resolved.
Most definitely.
We'll see you.
Have a great weekend. See ya.